You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
Welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad you've joined me. I always like to get up early in the morning and do this, but this morning I slept in, so I'm admitting to one of my sins of sleeping in. I don't know, last night I just could not get, so much was on my mind that I just could not get to the point where I could just fall asleep like I normally do. Usually when my head hits the pillow, I am gone. I am out of there. Listen, our conversation today is going to be about numbers. And they're going to be about, how do we say this? Come on, guys. It's not about the popularity. It's about the numbers. It's about you counting the numbers correctly and looking at the right numbers. Because that's what's going to drive how your candidate is going to win or lose. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I tell you, the last few couple of weeks, or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, how long it's been, I don't know. I've come to the conclusion that watching the elections on TV and listening to the news guys or commentaries or whatever you want to call them, jerks. Listening to them, it just gets everything confused. It really, really does. Last night I was online, and we were talking about, I was talking to these young kids, and they said, with Bernie in Iowa and New Hampshire won the popular vote. I said, that doesn't matter. You're looking at the wrong numbers. You have to look at the electoral the delegates that are going to go to the convention and nominate him. Those are the numbers you need to look at. And they said, no, you have to look at the No, you don't look at the popular vote. I mean, you look at it because that's what drives delegates. But let me tell you right now, if you look at the amount of delegates going to the convention between Bernie Sanders and Mayor Pete, it's a tie. And so let's look at it overall over the last two states that went in for voting. Mayor Pete has 22 delegates. Okay? He went up 9 in the last 7 days. Bernie Sanders has 21. He went up 9 in the last 7 days. You know what those 9 came from? It came from New Hampshire. They tied in New Hampshire when it comes to delegates. 9 and 9. Elizabeth Warren has 8 overall. Amy Klobuchar has 7, and Joe Biden, he's way down there at 6. So he has 6 delegates. Now these are the individuals that are going to go to the Democratic convention, and they're going to cast their vote for whoever they are going for. So if they're going for Bernie Sanders, they're going to cast a vote for Bernie Sanders. Now, those are delegates. Now, there are super delegates, too, that come in and vote on this, which could completely wipe out Bernie Sanders, or it could wipe out any of the nominees and put somebody in there that they want. And you know the name that's out there is Bloomberg. This is going to be a brokered convention, and that means that everybody goes there, they think they're going to be voting for Sanders, but in the end they end up voting for somebody else because no one wants whatever candidate that they're voting for. And so the Democrats at the convention say, okay, listen, everybody, we want to have XYZ to be the president, and so then they begin negotiating with all of these delegates. That's what happens at a brokered convention. It's not about the popularity. Everybody thinks it's about the popular vote. But it's about those number of delegates. It's just the same theory as it's about the Electoral College. How many Electoral College votes did you get in each state? It's the same principle. You work on the states that have the most delegates. If you're not planning this very well, you're not a very good politician. But you start planning, you start working on those states that have the majority of the delegates. And then you start working on the Electoral College. It's not about the popular vote. I don't know how to tell people this. You have to look at how many delegates does the candidate have, and can he go to the convention, and can he or she have enough delegates to cast the nomination to become the presidential nominee, presidential candidate that represents the entire party. So right now we have a tie. Buttigieg or Pete is up by 1. So he has 22. Sanders has 21. So you see, everybody keeps saying, oh, he's so popular, he's so popular. Listen, in New Hampshire in 2016, Bernie walked away with 60% of the vote. Clinton had, I think she had like 30-something number vote. So he had 60% of the vote. In this election, he only had, 27% of the vote? So he has really dropped down from the last time he ran. So that's why I keep asking. And then if you look at Trump's numbers, he had like 160-some thousand people show up for his New Hampshire vote counting. So you have a situation where people they're so enthused about the candidate, however, they're not looking at the numbers. And if you don't start looking, numbers never lie. Numbers never lie. Now, numbers can be maneuvered. When they get to the Democratic Convention, those numbers, those electoral delegates, they're going to be maneuvered around. So you have to really focus on where does he stand. Right now, between Mayor Pete and Sanders, it's a tie, delegate-wise. And that's the numbers that you really care about. Which is surprising because you would think that with all of this talk about how popular he is, that he's really not that popular. If he is tying in both states, he's not all that popular, is he? So, I get so fed up with watching the news because they exaggerate everything. And they speak with this authority as if they know what they're talking about. In actuality, they're just trying to drive numbers and people to watch their show. They don't care about this election. Look at even CNN. CNN is so bad that they're not even touting how well people are saying Sanders is doing, because he's not doing very well. He's not. I mean, he's tied. Electoral-wise, he's tied. Delegate-wise, delegates, not electoral, that comes later. But you see what I'm pointing at is that you have to watch these numbers to know exactly who is gaining momentum. And right now, you've got two individuals who are tied. But I don't even know if it's for first place, because who knows what's going to happen at the convention. It's probably going to be somebody else. Who knows? But let's say this, is that socialism is not something that the American people want. So the Democratic Party, I think they're pretty well snuggled up to the idea that Bernie just isn't the guy to represent the Democratic Party. Now Mayor Pete, he wasn't that good of a mayor. If you look at his record, his crime rates went up. He condemned the police. Murder rates have gone up in the city that he was mayor of. So he wasn't that good of a mayor. So you're looking at these individuals, every single one of them. You're looking at Pete and Bernie and Elizabeth and Amy and Joe. What have they done in life except be politicians? They have not accomplished anything. When you're in politics, the only way you can accomplish things is by working for the American people and not for a political agenda. And that's where the Democrats have gotten into trouble, is that the political agenda has become so strong through hate over the last 3 years that American people are turned off. I know I'm turned off. I'm tired of it. Every single day Nancy Pelosi comes out. She just came out today on Twitter condemning the president's budget. When we all know that the president's budget isn't going to be the final budget. It comes out of Congress. The Congress delivers that budget, or members of the Congress do. But, so she stands out there and she condemns him and how bad he is and how he's going to steal all this money from people, and she goes on and on. Knowing full well that the president's budget isn't going to be the final budget. But she uses it as a political tool. To be, only message they have, anti-hate president. Hate the president. Hate the president. Hate the president. Hate whatever he says. Hate whatever he does. Hate the president. That's the whole message. Not one single bill has come through that has helped the American people. Now, if you want to talk about the trade deal, you know what? That was the president's deal he put together. It wasn't Congress. All they had to do was vote on it. But they didn't they didn't do anything to it. So the American people have gotten to this point where they've said, you know what, enough of this. We don't want socialists. We don't want far left liberals. We want somebody that's more mainstream, more centered, that really does work for the American people. And the only one that has accomplished anything at the moment that I can see, unless you can prove me wrong, is Donald Trump. I mean, yeah, you may not like him. You may not like what he says or does or anything. But you know what? He's accomplished so much. More than, I think, any other president. And he'll be the first to tell you that. Which is okay, because if it's true, it's true. And you state the truth. But I'm highly concerned that if a Democrat were to become elected, you would see that the markets would just go nutso, which would then lead into a depression. We saw what happened with Obama. Everybody was really gung-ho on Obama at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, business just stalled. They pushed the pause button, businesses did, and they said, we're not going to hire anybody, we're not going to buy any new equipment, because we don't know what Obama's going to do next. And that was the message that was out there between all businesses. We're just on hold until we see, because we didn't know if he was going to do we did not know if he was going to do some wage mandates, which he did, which was then overturned, thank goodness. We didn't know what he was going to do on health care. All of these added expenses to business was really an attack on business. So business just kind of said, we're not going to do anything. And I'm telling you now, if a Democrat gets in with their policy of being anti-business, high taxes, free things for everybody, the business community will again pause and probably not recover. Because they don't know what an anti-business administration is going to do. In other words, there is no confidence in being a business any longer under a president who will tax, and attack. We saw it. I'm telling you, I lived through it during the Obama administration. All of us, I didn't hire any more accountants or any more tax people. I just put everything on hold. And everybody took up the slack of whatever person we needed to. We just could not afford. We had to stay within a certain level of employees, because if we went over it, then we were going to be hit with a whole bunch of new taxes and a whole bunch of new mandates. that President Obama had put into place. So we had to be very careful. We didn't know what to do. It was really a strange situation. So what I'm trying to get to with this whole thing this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you're listening to me, excuse me, is that when you're looking at this election, you have to look at the real numbers, the right numbers, and that is in the primaries, who has the most delegates. It's not about being popular. It's about who has the most delegates. And then when it comes to actually voting for president, it's who has the most electoral college votes. Those are the two numbers that you have to watch. I know that you all want to be popular. You all want to be popular with Bernie Sanders, but I'm telling you right now, he's not all that popular. Because his programs would pretty much bankrupt the nation. He can't even tell you. He cannot even tell you whether or not what these programs of his is going to cost. He even admitted to it. The newscaster the other day, how much is this going to cost? He says, I don't know. I can't tell you what it's going to cost. Well, I'm sorry. If I'm going to vote for somebody who is going to make a promise to me, he had better know what it costs so I know what to expect. Because am I going to get hit with a huge tax bill because you don't know how much it's going to cost? By the way, and I say this again and again, if your student loan debt gets written off, that becomes income to you. So you're going to get taxed on that. So if you had $10,000 of loan income, you're going to get taxed as income on that because it was forgiven. That's how it works under the IRS code. So we hear all this nonsense coming out, but it's not doing anything for the nation. It's just getting it into a worse situation. And the nation has to go forward if we want to be a leading nation economically, healthcare-wise, and everything else. We have to lead. But we can't lead if we don't know what the costs are going to be. We can't lead if we don't know what the programs are going to entail or how it's going to affect us. So think about that very, very carefully. It's based upon, do they know the numbers? Are they right with the numbers? Have they projected correctly? And does it make any sense? Does it make common sense? If it makes no common sense, wipe it out. The other issue is, what have these candidates accomplished? What have they done in their life to become a success? Sanders has done none. Buttigieg has left the city in turmoil because of high crime rates. The Senator, Elizabeth Warren and Amy, they bounce all around. You don't know where they stand. They pander to every single group. So how are they going to be for you if they are supporting somebody that has different views from you? They support everybody. Amy Klobuchar was really bad because a few years ago there's a tape of her out there saying, yeah, we need walls, we need border protection. Now she says, no, we need open borders, let's open them up. So what I'm saying, let me wrap this up and let's get on with our lives today. And that is, know your numbers, follow the numbers, look at the right numbers. Don't so much focus on who's popular. Because in the primary elections and when you get to the real elections, it's all going to be about numbers. It's not going to be about the popular vote. So I want you to think very wisely on this. Know right now that Pete and Bernie are both tied. After 2 states, they're just tied. There's no leader. There's no clear leader. Know those numbers very well. Look the numbers up on Google. Go to NPR. They have a website that they track all the delegates and all of the superdelegates. Just be careful how you look at this election. And make sure that you understand how this works. Because these delegates are the ones that are going to the National Democratic Election Convention, and they're going to be casting their votes based upon what happened in that particular state. So the one with the most delegates is the one that wins. However, if it's a broker convention everything's up in the air. Now, those of you in California, because I have to do this every single day because it's so important that we remove Nancy Pelosi. She comes up for renewal. She comes up for election this November. And there's an individual in San Francisco. He's the chairman of the Republican Party. Very good guy. His name is John Dennis, Dennis. Go to realjohndennis.com. www.real, John, John, Dennis, Dennis.com. If you want to become a volunteer, if you want to donate money, if you want to get involved in his campaign, go there and do it now. Because he's a strong candidate, he's a believer in the Constitution, and he's a believer in the direction that this nation is going right now with a good economic plan. And he has really good ideas on the money that goes into San Francisco to take care of the homeless and take care of the people on the streets and the drug addicts and everything else. And it's holding the city of San Francisco responsible for the numbers, for the money that comes out of Congress. So I want you to really support John. He really needs your help. We need to take back that seat from Nancy Pelosi, and let's get it done. If you have any questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682, and let's all go out and have a great day. It's a beautiful day to do great things. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.